Hey everyone, welcome back. This is the Fabric Espresso YouTube series about data engineering, data science, data ingestion, and basically playing with data inside Microsoft Fabric, the platform that we are building. We are part of Microsoft product group working and building Microsoft Fabric, and this is a series coming directly from all product managers, product engineering teams as well. So today we have a special guest. Shuaijun is joining me to talk about environment artifact, environment item. But before it, Shuaijun, could you please take a moment and introduce yourself? And if you can share what are the features you are working on, as I know that you are working also on one more critical item.
Thank you, Estera. Hello, everyone. My name is Shuaijun, and I'm one of the product manager of Fabric data engineering team. So I work a lot of fields related to the developer experience. The item specifically working on is called environment, and it is kind of like a consolidated item for you to manage all your hardware, software setting once you want to use Spark in Fabric. And another area I'm working on is called library management. So if you have library you want to install for your development, for example, in notebook, in structure definitions, and especially in environment, and I'm the PM also working on this area. Yep, thank you, Estera.
That's awesome. So now, today, the topic of the episode is managing Spark via Fabric environment item. We used to calling that environment artifact. But before jumping into the details, can you give us the context? What is environment? When we should use it? And for those who are familiar with other big data processing platforms like Synapse, Databricks, how to think about environment knowing those products?
Yep, thank you, Estera. So environment, as you can see, it is like an item, or we used to call it artifact in the Fabric system. It works like any other item in Fabric, like notebook and structure definition. You create a new environment, and within one environment, you can see the ability for you to manage all your libraries, Spark runtime, and also the compute configuration. Like for example, what's the process you want to use, what's the compute resources you want to use for one environment, and all those configuration can be customized by you. And then once it's all set up, you can attach it in your notebook and Spark definition. So all the library and the configuration will be there once your session gets started. So the beauty of having the environment is that you can patch all your configuration library all together at one place. And it can be, Fabric system have the Git and deployment pipeline supported and also REST API supported. You also have a seamless code experience of managing all the configurations through the CI/CD and through the API code first experiences. And comparing with other well-known systems, like on Synapse, we have the similar concept of the pool. So in one pool, you can also manage your configuration and install libraries in your pool. We provide a similar functionality, but on Fabric, we do have a better support of all the CI/CD and also all the code first experience for building your own pipeline.
Awesome. So is that summary correct that in Synapse, because Synapse Analytics is a PaaS service, as a user, you had to create a pool, configure it, and then you could use Apache Spark to process your data. In Fabric, because Fabric is a SaaS platform, you don't have to configure any runtime, any hardware switches, and provide any sophisticated settings. It works out of the box. But if you want to customize anything, library, Spark settings, compute, then environment is for you. Is that correct?
Yes, correct. Yes, exactly.
Awesome. So should we take a look at the demo right now?
Yeah, please.
Awesome.
Environment is a consolidated item for the software and hardware settings. You can personalize your own environment by choosing Spark Runtime, installing libraries, configuring Spark Compute configurations and properties. To apply these configurations and libraries, they need to be published. Typically, this publishing process takes a few minutes when it includes library update. During this process, the compute configurations are validated and the dependency tree of the library is constructed to ensure they work correctly in notebooks and Spark job definitions. Except for these core functionalities, one thing you may have noticed is that there's a built-in library section here. It's a new feature that will be released soon. Each Fabric Spark runtime includes different built-in libraries in various versions. These built-in libraries allow you to determine whether a library is provided by default and if it matches expected version. So next time before installing new libraries, you can use this built-in library to check if it's pre-installed or not. Another new feature which has been released already is the resources folder. It provides a file system that enables you to manage small resources during development. Resources is independent from the configurations. You can interact with its folders and files in real time, and no publishing is required. And you can access environment resources from notebook when attached. Let's see an example. I upload this package in my environment. And let's switch to the notebook. Refresh Explorer, and we can see the file is available in my notebook. I can drag and drop it into my notebook cell, and the code snippet is generated automatically. And from the notebook end, I can also manipulate the resources folder of the environment. For example, I can save this simple data frame to access one file in the environment. The advantage of this capability is that a single environment can be linked to multiple notebooks. It facilitates collaboration across different notebooks within shared storage.
Looks fantastic. We could see libraries, built-in, public, custom. We could see compute, Spark properties. And there was one more. We could see the resources, which are integrated with the notebook second resources tab. Could you please share what's the stage? Is it in public preview or it's GA, meaning that ready for production workloads?
Yeah, thank you so much. So basically all the feature you've seen in the environment, except for the built-in library, that's a feature we're about to release. So you might able to see it next month. All the other features, they are all GA feature of the environment.
Awesome. And could you share what's coming? What is the new tab that is coming to environment? That again, this week, last week, we are discussing almost every day.
Yes, exactly. So we're about to have the acceleration tab in environment. And maybe Estera, do you want to be the one to introduce what are the features we're going to provide?
So we are getting a new tab under Spark Compute acceleration for our users who are using native execution engine and also in the future for auto-tune functionality. So right now, those two features, which are related to acceleration, you can enable them by Spark settings. But for those who are maybe not familiar with setting up Spark settings, configuring, and who basically don't want to play with Spark settings, resolving some names and so on, for them, we'll have the UI, and this is going to be part of the portal experience for environment artifact.
Yeah, and it's going to be GA or public preview?
Beautiful question. So again, it will be in public preview. The stage, again, we're adding a tab, and inside the tab, we are adding an option to enable those features. So the maturity for those features, again, native engine, it will be at the beginning public preview. Auto-tune is still in public preview. And we have a timeline for native engine to be in GA. But again, right now, those two features, once the tab acceleration will land, the name preview will be reflected for sure. So our customers will be informed. Okay, should we discuss the next topic, which is the fundamental of every product experience, but also for those people who want to get things done, make sure that the developers' requirements and rules are met, meaning CI/CD. So should we start with Dima?
Yes, definitely.
My workspace is connected to a Git repo with a main branch. and the environment is synced in Git. The local representations of the environment are YAML files. Let's add public library as an example. I switch to a dev branch, add emoji and workload, and then I commit and push the changes from local to Git. After doing this, I can go to the Git repo and create a PR for my changes. And once my PR is reviewed, the changes can be merged from the dev branch to main. Now I can switch back to Fabric and sync my environment with the changes from Git. Let me refresh my environment. You can see the changes coming from Git are saved, like the changes made in the Fabric portal. Changes from Git also needs to be published to become effective. And furthermore, Fabric's deployment pipeline simplifies the process of delivering modified content across different phases, such as moving from the development to test. Environments are supported as well. With a single click of the deploy, the environments are automatically synced from one phase to another. One thing that I would like to highlight is that the deployment pipeline supports syncing published environment. If your environment is published in the original workspace, it will keep the same in the destination workspace after deploying.
Great demo. We started first by seeing what the feature is about, how the integrations look like. But now, can you tell us more? What's the context? What are the rules? What are the principles behind CI/CD for environment?
Yep, thank you, Estera. So as you can see, Fabric platform will provide the Git and also deployment pipeline features. In the Fabric work right now, each workspace will be connected to a Git repo attached to a certain branch, and that is how you're able to have the Git experience based on it. And the repo is an Azure DevOps repo. So with this functionality, or like some items of the Fabric can be connected into Git, so that you can have the ability to manage the content of them at your local IDE or just in the repo itself. With this functionality, we want to provide the user that ability to manage end-to-end, or like for the environment, and manage their configurations end-to-end. Also, one part of the development cycle is about deploy. Once you think when your development is done, you can actually moving from one phase to another. So that comes with the deployment pipeline. It is also a service provided by Fabric that you can move your built item from one workspace to another. So you can mark one workspace as your test workspace or another workspace as your production workspace. Once you think all the works are done at one stage, you can use the deployment pipeline through the single click of the deploy to move all the things from the test to production. And environment have all the Git and deployment pipeline support under all the scenarios. And I think one more detail I would like to share here is that so the changes you made in Git, they are we are considering they are also like the similar with the changes you made in Portal, meaning that it's part of the development experience. And maybe you want to do some testing, you want to try different configurations, and you can do them instead of using the portal, you can use Git to make sure all those configurations are set up correctly. And then after you make the changes in your local and then you get them reflected in your Git repo, you can go back to the Fabric portal and update all the changes from Git. And all the changes will be reflected in your environment, and you can further publish the environment to make them effective. And as for the deployment pipeline, we consider this is a pipeline we provide for you to manage from different stages. So at one stages, you might have your environment already set up, and you might able to use all the configurations in your notebook or in the Spark definitions. So all the configuration are kind of like prepared and compacted together. And once you deploy from one workspace to another, all the contents will be prepared for you. meaning that the changes, like for example, in the original environment, all your changes are already published and already effective. They will keep the same destination workspaces. So yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Can you comment if we can bring our own YAML file?
Yes, definitely. As you can see, both in portal experience, we have the concept of in the public library section, you can upload a YAML file to specify what are the library you want from Piping and Conda. And also in the Spark property section, you can upload a YAML file for your property key value pairs. So we in the portal, we support you to manage all the library and settings in a batch. And also in the local IDE, you will see the environment are represented as a YAML files. All the library, all the settings, all the compute and properties are represented in the YAML file format. So that one way is that you can customize the existing YAML. And another way is that you can prepare all your YAML files and customize everything in one YAML file and upload in the portal or sync it in the Git repo so that everything can be recognized in the environment.
Awesome. So we can create an environment, then customize it with bringing libraries, Spark settings, hardware optimization, full configuration. Then everything is reflected with Git. You mentioned Azure DevOps as of now. Do we plan to support GitLab and GitHub?
Yeah, that's a great question, Estera. So for the GitHub, it's actually on our plan. And the GitLab, I would say for even next step. Yeah.
Awesome. So now again, we covered the function, the stage, the CI/CD. So there are a lot of, especially ISV customers, who are heavily relying on REST API. Do we have REST API for an environment? And I assume that yes. How it works? What are the endpoints?
Yeah, thank you so much. So yes, we do support REST APIs for environment. Basically, all the functionality today using in the portal, they're all supported through the REST API. So the basic REST API, we include create, delete, and get the content of the environment. And except for this, we also support the API with, for example, upload library, delete library, update the Spark compute configuration, and that's it. So I think the part of supporting REST API are the library, Spark runtime, and Spark compute configurations. And resources will be the next component we're considering to support through the API. But the configuration portion are the ones have this API support right now. And all the REST API, they are under the public preview stage. And maybe you can refer to an article we shared in our Microsoft public documentation. It shows like the end-to-end experience, how you can create an environment and manage all the contents of the environment through the APIs. And another part I want to cover is that we all know that in order to make an environment become effective, we have this process called publish to make all the configuration become ready. So in the API, we also support you publish the environment. And I would call it a really powerful API because in some scenario, for example, the Git experience we just covered, after we syncing the changes from Git, if you want to make sure all the configuration they are working, so a publishment is required. Instead of go into the portal and do the publish manually, you can also use the API instead. You can just call the publish API, and then the changes will be processing, and it will become ready after a few minutes. So publish is a very important API, and also you get another API which is cancel publish. Definitely, you can check the status of the publish at any moment, and to say, hey, if I made something wrong, you can cancel the publish if you want.
Yeah,
Thank you.
so it sounds that, again, we create the artifact and edit the environment, but we have to remember that this API is two-stage, meaning that addition is one element, saving, but then publishing. We always have to remember that the changes will be effective only after publishing. Awesome.
Yes.
We'll add a link in the description so you can take a look at the public documentation where all the APIs has been listed, described, categorized, and there are a few examples how to, for example, change a runtime version for your environment. Also, it's a good opportunity to mention that per environment, you can select a different runtime version, and then that environment you can attach to a different notebook and different Spark job definition or default workspace environment. And here, could you please share what's the context behind default environment that we can configure on the workspace level?
Yes, that would be great. So environment as an item, it is independent from one to another. Like for example, under one workspace, you can have multiple environments, and each one can be independent from each other. So that at one environment, you can configure the runtime with certain version like 1.3, and maybe another runtime, you can have a different runtime version with 1.4, and these two environments won't be impacted with each other. And all your notebook attached to environment 1 are going to use all the configuration in 1, and notebook are using environment 2 are going to use the configuration of the environment 2. And another thing mentioned by Estera is a workspace default environment. So once you have the environment ready, if you think, hey, I'm not happy of just using this environment for a certain notebook, I want to make it a general experience for my notebook. I can go to the workspace setting and find the section of the environment, and you will see there is an opportunity for you to attach one environment to become the workspace default. So after you attaching an environment as a default, or the notebook and Spark job definition of this workspace, if it's not attached to any other environment, by default, it will use the workspace setting default environment. Meaning that if you create a new notebook, create a new Spark job definition, it will automatically have the configuration from the default environment, so that you don't need to configure, the environment one by one in your notebooks. You can get, all the settings in this environment for your workspace.
Awesome. So by default, you don't have to configure any runtime related switches settings. By default, you are getting just the runtime version. If you need to tune it, if you need to configure it, then you can create an environment and promote it to the workspace level default environment. Awesome. Shuaijun, thanks for joining and sharing all those details related to environment item. For those who are watching us, remember to leave the like button. And if you appreciate our work, please leave also a comment, ask a question, and suggest the topic for the next Fabric Espresso episode. Until the next time, happy configuring and managing Apache Spark in Fabric through environment item. Thanks and see you.
Thank you. See you.